Hey guys, it's me Cami and welcome back to another video. I am so sorry that I did not upload yesterday. I kind of wanted to talk about that and kind of get into that in this video. But I was going through it yesterday and I feel like when I'm having like mental health days or just days when I'm not feeling my best, I just don't want to film, or I like don't know how to be while filming. So I do apologize for that, but I feel much better today and I am really excited about this kind of video that I'm going to be making. I've seen these all over YouTube, and basically I'm just going to be talking about like my future plans, like college, all of that kind of stuff that I haven't really mentioned to you guys yet, or I haven't really like announced fully like the whole thing. And I feel like there's kind of a process to it. And it's something that I wish I heard a lot more about and like I was able to talk to someone more about when it was happening. So that is what I'm going to be talking about with you guys today. Something that has been really hard for me, and that's what's making me kind of just really stressed and really like unsure of myself recently, which has been making me just really unhappy. So I'm going to basically talk about my advice, what I'm doing, like what I suggest people do that I wish that I would have done. And I'm going to do that while I get ready, do my makeup and all that stuff. So I feel like it's more of like a chit chat, which is a really good way to talk to you guys. Basically, I'm going to start off with the process I had of applying to schools. So I am going to college. I've always wanted to go to college. Just something that I found really important to me was my education, and I really wanted to get a 4-year degree at a school. Growing up, I didn't really have a certain school in mind. I never really thought about it that much until I hit high school, but also till like the end, like junior, senior year, which I wish had been a little different, because I think I would have, done a lot better at school the first 2 years if I really thought about more of my future. But unfortunately, that did not happen. So another piece of advice, I guess, like the first thing I would say is no matter what grade you are in high school, please start to think about it and care about your grades. I don't want to sound like a mom or anything, but like it is really important, because I was kind of defeated when I was applying to schools, but I felt like a failure from my first 2 years, and I wasn't able to show how great I was doing in school now, because your grades as a senior aren't really like the main thing, and you apply to schools before your end of your grades even show up. So it was just something that I had to realize about myself, is like that is just my reality, which really sucked for me personally. But anyways, so I am in this program that helps me apply for schools, which is really helpful for me. I feel like without that, I would have been so lost, even more lost than I feel like I already was, even with their help. My main school that I wanted to get into and go to was the University of Vermont. That's the university of like my state. And I just thought it was really pretty and really cool. And every time I toured it, I thought it was like amazing and it was beautiful. It is a harder school to get into. So I kind of like thought, I was like, okay, like I have to realize that. But I thought I still might have a chance. Sorry about my dog. I'm also a cheerleader in high school, and that is something that I did want to continue doing in college at any cost that I could. So it was kind of like trying to find a school that had cheer that I could do, because obviously I'm not the greatest in the world at cheerleading, but also wasn't super far for me. So the problem with me looking for schools that I wish that I like had a better time finding a school that had all these qualifications, and I just didn't find one at the time that for me hit everything. So I'll tell you guys what basically my requirements that I wanted for a school were. One was like it had a cheer team that I like was able to participate with. And then another would have been, it would be like the New England area. The farthest would have been like Florida, but pretty much like New England is like really where I wanted to stay. And basically other than that, like it had a really good like business program, because that's what I wanted to go into. My thing would be, please do your research. And if you're someone like me who's at least trying to do sports, don't look into the sports at all first, because I did that with a school that I thought I was going to go to. And I shouldn't have done that, because it's not all about the sport. And if the sport is great and say like something happens to it, like you still want to like the school. I mean, some people might just go to college for other things, but I mean, nobody really chooses to go to an extra education, extra school for just, for fun necessarily. because you do have schools to think about while you're there. So that was basically like my biggest challenge, was finding schools that would fit all those criteria. And long story short, I didn't get into UVM. It was a very hard thing for me to deal with, just because for some reason I thought that was my dream school, and even if it was or wasn't, it totally, like, I've never, known how that feels to obviously not get into your dream school. So it was like, I just didn't know what to do, and it was actually very hard for me to kind of like go forward. I like didn't know what to do next. I didn't know where I wanted to go next, because like that is the school that you're thinking about. So I went on and I applied to literally 20 other schools. I think in total I applied to 20, so like 15 other schools. And it was awful. Like I looked online and I barely looked at the school. I looked if they had cheer or not, basically. That was the only requirement. And if they were in New England, and I basically just applied really quickly on my Common App, and I was like, okay, cool, done. And like, don't even think that I liked half of them, to the point where I'd even consider going to them, which is like not good at all. What I will say is, please look into the schools that you want to apply to or you're thinking about applying to very well, especially the sports. Like, but first, really look at the school. Like, look about everything about it, because once you really take it all in, you may realize you don't want to apply there, you don't want to go there. And also, don't apply to schools that you can't even think about going to, or like you have no reason to want to go there. I applied to schools in New England, they hit some of my criteria, but there was no real reason to be like, oh yeah, I would actually go to school there. It was very like, you have to find the difference. Like, is that a legit school for you? Because I wasted all of my applications on schools that I might not have wanted to go to, but the more I did some more research on the internet and I found schools I wanted, I couldn't apply. Everyone like has different abilities of how they can apply and how many schools, but overall I applied to the max that I could on my Common App, which was 20, which was a lot of schools to me, but like they didn't all seem like options, is what I'm trying to say. I didn't have a runner-up. I didn't have like, oh, where am I gonna go now? Because I literally had no idea where or what I wanted to do. It was a big question mark the whole time. I'm also a very indecisive person, which is hard because I just think about everything all at once, about every possibility, and it's not always productive. It's not helpful most times. Sit down, make a list of exactly what you want in a school, because now I feel like I know more than ever, and I don't have the chance to go to that school at least for a year or a semester if I'm even that lucky. So please, like, sit down, really think about yourself. Like, you might have lived in one place like me for almost your whole life, and you might think, okay, like, that's what's fine with me. But really think outside of what you're used to, and think about, like, just if you had any option in the world, where would you go? And that's where I feel like just make a very like specific checklist, and you will find a school that works for you, I promise. I feel like that's what I wish I would have done, because now I want to go to a school that's a little bit more suburban, but it's very close to a big city, because I don't want to be in a city where there's no grass and there's no like, you can't move, but I do want to be close to a city and more like a little bit out of the city where there's grass and things, but there's always things to do, which is not the school that I'm at least going to. It did not hit some of those boxes that I now have, that I wish I would have really thought about before. So I'm just saying, make a really good checklist for when you are applying, and everything will go much smoother. You won't even have to think about like, oh, like what about that school? Just, you already know that it's not what you want, and there'll be fewer options to even look through, which is really helpful for someone like me. If you're someone who like really has a hard time like looking at a bunch of options and just knowing like where you want to go, especially if your dream school, you didn't get into it. So that is what I would suggest in that regard. Also, I will tell you guys a little bit about my journey of like what I did when I did pick schools. I actually did pick a school. I was all set to go there. I applied, I was accepted. I was almost like fully going there. But I didn't make it onto the cheer team, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I didn't put in enough work as I should have put in order to go to a school that was that like great at cheer, and I basically only went for that. I mean, it was a little far away from my home, which is totally fine, but I just felt like I didn't know anybody and I was scared. So I almost I chickened out because I didn't get onto the team, which was a big reason of me going there. I just couldn't imagine like continuing school, going to college, continuing my life without doing cheer as well. that just wouldn't sit right with me to not be able to do cheer at all. They were a D2 school and their team is awesome. So I felt really ashamed of myself. I really did. And I was more confused than ever because I just knew that like I could not go to a school that didn't have as much school spirit as I wanted, where I didn't know a single person, and where I wasn't able to do the thing that I loved, that I went there for, which is another problem, obviously. So don't go to a school for sports, even if you think you're really great, because you may not make it. Also, to not make it onto a college sports team is totally fine. Like, it really is okay. And I felt like such a failure because I told everyone that I was going there, and it was awful. And I was like, I just can't see myself going there for a year. Even if I have to go like to a D3 school, like just so I can continue cheer is what's really important to me. So that's what I did. I contacted my college advisor person, and I was like, is there any way that I can go to this one school I got into that's in my state? So it's an in-state school. It's the only other in-state school I applied to. And they said yes, and that's where I'm going. But it was a very stressful time, and I didn't think I was going there for the absolute longest time, so, because it wasn't one of my first choices. Not going to worry too much about it. I just know that this is what's meant to happen for me, and I am going to use this school year, to get really, really good at cheer and like get some college cheer experience with a coach who can help me. So the school is D3. They have a cheer team and a football team. They're very like school spirit, which I love. And I know that I'm going to be able to get a lot of good experience and really, really work hard on my skills to become way better. And then I'm going to transfer after my freshman year to another school that has more of the feel that I want. And hopefully I have a better chance of making their team with better skills. And the school that I'm going to is an hour and like 30 minutes away, so I can still come and see like my boyfriend and some people that I know around the area, which is actually really nice. And I'm not in a completely different state where I don't know anything, but I actually don't know that area very well. But that is basically kind of like my announcement of where I'm going. I'm going to Castleton University in Castleton, Vermont. I'm actually very excited, and I'm very grateful that I was even able to make that change of where to go. There's nothing bad to say about Castleton at all. Castleton is a great school, and it's some people's first school, and that's awesome. It's just not mine for its location and some of its other things. But I'm really grateful that I get to go there for a year and really grow my grades as a college student and get some better cheer experience and be able to just do all of these things that I think I need to be able to be a little bit better to get into some other schools that I really want after my freshman year. So that is what I'm doing. And if you're also going to be a transfer student, that's okay. I really wish that someone would have told me that it's all going to be okay and it's like there's nothing to worry about. Because there isn't, because literally everything is going to work itself out just fine. And I wish things would have went differently, but if this is your same situation, or if you're going to be a transfer student, or if you're unsure of where you're going or even where to apply, you are not alone. And I literally thought I was so alone because everyone just seems like they pick their schools and there's no talk about like the process of that. That is basically all my advice and stuff that I have to say about where I'm going, my whole process, and just like what I wish I would have done or wish I would have known. You got this. I believe in every single one of you to do whatever you want to do. And thank you guys so much for watching, liking, and supporting and everything. I love doing this, and I cannot wait to continue to do this in college. That is going to be so fun for me, and take breaks when you need them, because I feel like when I needed them, I took them, and I feel way better. And everybody else should do that too. Bye.